everybody, welcome to Absolutely. I'm Sal. That's Huston. We're going to be talking about the 1990 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. We're going to talk about our favorite things about it, maybe a couple of pitfalls. I don't think so, because I think this movie might be one of the best.
It's pretty chef's kiss. I'll give it to you.
It's pretty choice. But yeah, this is our kind of test of Turtles watch.
Yeah, a little retrospective of the Turtles.
Precisely.
So if you like this, you can expect us to do all the rest of them. And I really want to watch the second Ninja Turtles movie. So please show this one some love, because that's my favorite movie maybe ever.
I remember as a child receiving that VHS tape in, the world. Like, my parents gave it to me. Just that white box, the big ass 2 on it. I'm like, I was like, we made it.
You know what's crazy? I just went into my childhood closet 3 days ago, and I have the third one on VHS on a shelf. Original everything. It's still in the box.
Nice.
And that
still
movie's
sealed
probably
because no one would watch it.
No, it still might be maybe the worst of these movies, but we're going to talk about the first one because
yes.
Wow.
Yeah, the first one has a lot of lore and a lot of stuff. So, like, listen, the reality is you could watch a million different videos that will give you a full breakdown of, like, all the processes that went into the movie, how it was edited, who the director was. We'll talk about we'll name drop characters and people who worked on the movie as well. But, like, this is not going to be a comprehensive breakdown of, like, the history of this movie. This is just more about, like, us talking about what we enjoyed about it, because we watched it recently and we're talking about, like, just getting into the movie.
This is how much we wanted to talk about it. We were doing the Absolutely show yesterday live to film the other videos for the channel, and this was bumped to the end because we had, like, more pressing videos of things releasing right now instead of a retrospective. But in between every video, we'd almost start a whole Ninja Turtles video because we wanted to talk about it so bad.
Yeah.
So
this movie, they worked on it back in 1989, shot mostly in, I believe, North Carolina. Which is
a little bit of New York as well.
A little bit of New York, yeah. All the pickups are New York or a very obvious soundstage, and they look fantastic. It's one of those things where it's like, as a child, I was like the perfect age, because the Turtles, Turtles came on the scene. 84 was when the comic came out. 87 is when the cartoon comes out. So by 89, this movie is being in development. But Turtles Mania is at its height. It's at its peak. You can't turn around, brush your teeth, eat a sugar-filled preservatives pie off the shelf without seeing the Turtles branding. And this live-action Ninja Turtles movie comes out. And it's obvious. Okay, so it's a perfect storm of perfection that makes this movie possible, despite all the things to the contrary, like a first-time director, Steve Barron, who mostly did television, including shows like Small Wonder, which I believe is a show about a robotic little girl, but again, before my time. Weird-ass show, really incredible director who no one in the studio... Well, of course, no studio. It's the first... it's the highest-grossing independent movie made ever.
Wow.
Made because no studio wanted to touch it. Disney had no interest. Nobody wanted it. They were like, I'm sorry, what?
Mutants, of course, ninjas.
Yeah,
I don't think that works.
Yeah, plus they wanted it to be kind of authentic. They were like, we wanted to keep all of the fun, graphic violence that you'd expect from the original comic books, and the hard edge of those characters. And I'm like, again, perfect balance, because at that point, 89, 90. They have the cartoon. That's what everyone knows the Turtles for. No one is like, oh man, I heard about the Ninja. No one's parents were like, I heard about the Ninja Turtles because my comic book retailer was telling me. Oh yeah,
I hear Mirage Studios dropping a Ninja Turtles comic, and it's pretty graphic, and the black and white artwork is
I can't wait,
stunning, which it is.
Come out. No, but that cartoon strikes this incredible balance of, like, here's what this premise is. It's pretty standard nowadays, but it's like, here's the show, here's this concept, and then they're like, the movie is going to be a mix of the comic book, a mix of the cartoon show, and its own thing comes out of it as a result of that marriage. And it's like, everything about this works. Everything about this works.
Yeah. So I spent a lot more time with the second Ninja Turtles movie growing up. I think maybe I'd messed up the VHS of the first one, so I'd only seen it. What I thought maybe only a couple times, but I'm sitting here watching this movie, and I'm watching with some friends that haven't seen it and thought it looked nightmarish, and they never wanted to touch it. And I'm throwing out quotes. I am going to look like the pizza down here scene is one of my favorites, where he tricks the Domino's driver, and he's like, hey, where's my $3? You were late, bro. Cowabunga. And it's so ridiculous. Also, I think the first thing we should talk about is the puppets themselves.
Yes, Jim
Jim
Henson,
Henson's Creature
Creature
Shop.
Shop, incredible.
Wow.
Again, it's one of those things where it's like it's the perfect time. Turtles Mania is at its apex, and these people who are making this movie are all working essentially for nothing. And Jim Henson is alive and at the top of his game, and breaks his own kind of morality clause because I don't know if you've ever seen The Dark Crystal
Yeah.
or Fraggle Rock or the Muppets in any way, but like there isn't a high degree of violence or ninja
Nope.
weapons in that in those projects. Jim Henson himself is a noted pacifist, or at the very least, he was very much a proponent of peace. And yet he was like, "But I do want to see if we can make live human Ninja Turtles."
Oh yeah.
So
He
let's
w-
do
he
it.
he put in so much work, and then after the movie, he continued to praise the animatronics, but went on record to say he hated the violence.
Oh
He's
yeah,
like,
which
he said he thought it was excessive and unnecessary, which firmly disagree, Mr. Henson.
oh
That was awesome. Are you
listen,
kidding?
I agree to disagree, Mr. Henson. I mean, he wasn't the only one, by the way. Noted beloved April O'Neil actor Judith Hoag
Yeah.
also had a significant problem with the violence in this movie, which, by the way, not especially graphic at all. We don't see a ton of blood at all. We don't see a
No,
lot,
we get
but
some turtles with some blood scuffs, which I don't think we ever see again, really. And if
really never.
I
Only in
think
the
in the
comics.
future, if you get blood, it's like purple or another color or something like that. I don't think it's
Because they're
ever.
mutants, you see.
Yeah, they're mutants. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
different. I think when Funimation redid Dragon Ball Z, they did something similar where they recolored a lot of the alien blood to be purple, or they just make it clear. So
Yes, smart
TV
move.
guidelines.
But Judith Hoag was very much against the violence, and also publicly decried some of those proponents of the movie, which is why she's notably replaced in subsequent
Paige
releases.
Turco takes
Yeah.
on the role forward.
I didn't notice as a kid seeing that movie. I was like, oh, okay, April seems a little different. But on rewatches, Judith Hoag is she's great. Everyone
Oh,
in this
she's
movie is firing on all
fantastic.
it's and that's what's so amazing is the casting. But before we get into that, let's continue to talk about the animatronics because they are just incredible. Everybody who like wants to seem like a smart alecky contrarian is like, but what about that scene when Donatello laughs really loud and you can clearly see the puppeteer actor's mouth and create nightmare fuel if you just zoom in on that image? It's true. Yeah, you know what? The thing about it is first time. Like it wasn't like there was some template they could go on. They had to invent the whole system, the suits, the animatronics, the electronic components to make the mouths move. They had to use like these like remote circuitry that would occasionally be intercepted by like airline traffic, and so like the mouths would just suddenly start like freaking out and saying things like because like air traffic would be saying like, you know, oh, we're coming in for a landing.
Oh my god.
You know, it's just incredible kind of like MacGyvering of this operation that if you're a kid and you watch this movie, trust me, the illusion is there. It works perfectly.
I mean, I don't think I fell out of it super often. I mean, every once in a while, yeah, I did, but most of the time I was like, this is just as immersive as the Michael
Yeah.
Bay one, respectfully. Because
right?
like this feels it's like you make up for it by how practical everything is and how
Yes.
real every set looks and how real every shot looks. Bay,
Mhm.
most of it's on a green screen or like a green screen room or a studio, which, you know, no disrespect to them. I think they have some really high highs. I think the Turtles in those movies are voiced by incredible actors. Like
They are. Yeah.
Alan Rickson is Raphael, and he's Hawk and Dove. He's Aquaman in Smallville. He's so many. He's incredible.
Yeah.
They have so much going for him, but visually, I hate to say it, I would say this one's a more enjoyable experience. I think it's a better movie in a lot of ways, which is weird.
In a lot of ways. I mean, you know, it's apples and oranges. The Bay Turtles were made in a completely different time. You already are aware of the Turtles. For this movie, when it comes on the scene, there's no way you don't know what a Ninja Turtle is because of the marketing and the merchandising that had preceded it. But for some, it may be their first exposure to the Turtles in any form outside of branding. You know, you may have seen like a cereal or a juice box, but
Definitely
you might not
a
have
toy.
watched the cartoon. But it absolutely, yeah, oh yeah, and toys, big time. Let me tell you something. There was no one who collected more Turtles toys than me at the time. And when I say collected, I mean bought and played with and subsequently destroyed.
I have so many. I actually have, and it's crazy how back then toys were so hyper detailed. But I have, I think, a Leonardo or maybe a Donatello from this movie, And I feel like I was more familiar with it through the toy than I was to that, because it was like 1-to-1, the texture of the skin, the
Oh
way the
yeah, the
hand
texture is really
looks.
weird.
It's
Yeah, that was
weird.
a
It's gross. I hate it. I
I
love
I
it.
don't understand. I liked it because, I got this thing about textures, but I was also like, and it because I had bought so many action figures at that time up until that point, and Playmates was like, "Let's give them, like, real turtle feel," and it's like, you don't need to do
Don't
that.
do that.
But it's also kinda neat that they did it all, and it also differentiates them in a big bad way where you're like, "That's a movie version." Like, that is
That's a
not
movie version.
I'm not gonna get that confused with Mondo Get-Go. Uh, but yeah, so turtles look amazing. Like you pointed out earlier, the idea of like the lighting and like just just by virtue of them being in the room with the actors and them doing their thing on set, like you get to light it. You get to come up with camera moves and ideas like shot composition with the characters on the set in the scene. You can make it work. Claustrophobic as hell. The suits were a nightmare. I would
Oh
never
my
last
God.
2 seconds in one of those things.
The
But
behind the scenes photos of this, which, like, I don't know who's
oh,
editing this, but Platt, if you are, toss up a behind the scenes photo of the suits, because they're abundant, and they're terrifying. And I think one of the reasons Judith Hogue was fired and was not brought back for the second one is because she also spoke out on behalf of the costumed characters, because they were
yes.
being mistreated on set, which is sad. This is an incredible movie that has kind of like a tumultuous legacy.
Yeah.
Definitely a little frustrating, but I think I don't know who it is, but there's one of the physical actors ends up becoming a main character in the next movie. It's just an actor.
Yeah,
One,
that's true.
I think it's Donatello's actor. He
I think
ends
you're
up
right.
being a character that is never once referenced in another piece of Ninja Turtles media. Maybe not
No.
even in this Ninja Turtles franchise again.
No.
But
Yeah, I don't think Kino comes up ever again, but I I wanna say there's, like, either a toy or he's in one of the, like, weirder, like, offshoot video games. I
hell yeah.
But, yeah, man, suits are incredible. The fact that you can actually, like, see them there's a lot of sacrifice, right, for this, like, art, and I applaud and salute the, indomitable actors who were crammed into these experimental rubber suits and slowly murdering them throughout the shoot and putting up with it, only to have their voices completely dubbed over, with the notable exception being Raphael, but, it all works, and it all, like, contributes to the illusion, of course, of what really arguably is an attempt at a cash grab, which is a movie adaptation of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but also the technical achievements and the story that they managed to achieve. Everything is, I say, worth it, having not sacrificed a single thing
Yeah.
to make that movie possible.
20 or 30 years later, we can safely say pretty
It
dope.
works. It works, and you watch it in HD, it's still gorgeous. It's only
God.
more gorgeous because it's not like rewatching Lord of the Rings. I love that movie. I think it's fantastic. The trilogy at the very least.
Yeah.
But some of the effects, the
Right.
CG, like everything practical, still holds up. Looks amazing. But the
Exactly.
CG could
It
use an
needed work.
updating
It
a
needed
little
work.
bit.
That definitely, my first time watching Lord of the Rings was a couple of years ago, and I watched the, extended whatever cuts on HBO Max, and I remember thinking a lot of this looked a little clunky, and then at times it'd be like, "What?
Yeah.
What are these guys made of? This looks incredible. This texture's incredible." And
Yeah.
Turtles, because I think is there CGI in this movie?
In this movie, no, no.
Like at any point? I don't
There
think so.
can't
Like
be.
not
No,
a
it's
single
89.
shot.
There's nothing. And by the way, the movie came out in 1990, but I'm saying they worked in 1989. But
Yeah.
yeah, man, no, there's no CGI in this movie. The only thing there's camera trickery, there's
Yeah.
special effects, but
For
and there's
sure.
rear projection and like, just I mean, the final showdown with Shredder is just on a soundstage with like literally a backdrop like in Gremlins 2. It's just like,
Yeah,
oh,
it looks
like,
awesome.
there's
I love
it's
it.
still, what's funny, it does look awesome, even though like it's, if you know movies and you're just like watching and the behind the scenes of things, you're just like, yeah, it's a soundstage. Yeah. I mean, like, of course it is. I'm not going to go to New York and shoot in what could be either like 30-degree weather or 105-degree weather with 4 men in full head to toe rubber suits they can't get out of without like basically striking it for the day. Like, yeah, no, shoot it on the set. I get it. I appreciate it. And it looks good
It
because they
looks
didn't do the
great.
whole
New York
CG
doesn't
thing.
look like this in movies anymore.
No, no.
Like it just doesn't, because everybody uses the same, what's like the Atlanta, New York set, which is
Yeah.
built, and some of it is built really well, but it's the same 4 or 5 streets, right? It's like
Yeah.
it's Bleecker, it's Times Square, it's one other
Mhm.
thing, and it's like I've seen this a lot.
Yeah.
And North Carolina is a weird place to film, and I loved it. Not
Deep.
April
That's why.
O'Neil in this movie
Mhm.
is so rich,
charismatic, beautiful, incredible.
charismatic, beautiful, stunning. Went on to play the mom in Halloween Town for any of my Disney movie buffs because I was staring at her and I was like, "There's no way that's the Halloween Town mom."
Mhm.
Which, fun fact, if you're like a real Halloween person, really into it, this year they usually do it every year, but it's a lot bigger this year. They're throwing a festival in the town that Halloween Town was filmed in. They put the pumpkin back, and all the actors are actually coming to the town. So if you like Halloween Town, maybe Judith Hogue will be there.
That's
but
awesome.
but yeah, I mean, she was so great. She was
Yeah.
so funny. Like the first scene where the turtles like schmooze their way into her apartment, where she's like, "Unless you want a frozen pizza, pizza." You said the magic word, which is so goofy and corny and incredible. And
Yeah.
I think played a big part in the reason that like pizza is one of my favorite foods. I'm like 1,000% sure it's because of this movie.
Oh,
This
yeah.
movie and the next one.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
the next one
opening,
more.
The opening credits of Turtles 2 is just like it's grotesque. It's pornographic.
It's insane. But then in the movies, instead of it being like New York's finest pizzas, like there's no Joe's, there's no great restaurants. It's like Domino's or Pizza Hut because
That's
they
right.
needed branding for these movies. And you can't get
Yeah.
Joe's Pizza to sponsor like a multi-million-dollar production or whatever.
I mean, they might actually be doing okay, but they're not going to know to ask them. Smart move, by the way. I love the inconsistency because, of course, like if you're like me and you grew up watching this tape and you wore out the tape and had to get multiple tapes from Pizza Hut, there's an incredible opening commercial for Pizza Hut.
God, the
And
commercial.
it's got just a pure slice of Americana of a song, and this. But again, it's a complete commercial for Pizza Hut, only to have in the movie Domino's because, of course, Pizza Hut didn't deliver. Only reason they had to go with Domino's. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't even. You brought this up off mic a while back about how, oh my God, they don't have original New York pizza. They get Domino's, and I'm like, on one hand, that is frustratingly true.
Oh yeah.
And on the other, they are children.
Yeah.
And you know how like kids don't appreciate the finer things? You know, like because they are clearly fed by pop culture and like runoff from the streets of New York, like they don't know to get good pizza. You know, they even if it is better objectively, they're like, I got to get Domino's because like they deliver, and
that's crazy.
They got the branding.
I guess it is how it is now in New York. Every joint delivers. If not, there's a DoorDash driver to come bring you the pizza from the place that doesn't deliver. 100%. Or you're in New York. Walk. Come on, guys. Get over there.
Walk off the pizza on the way over there.
Well,
Lord knows I need to listen to that.
For VidCon, for some reason, I think Paramount owns VidCon now. So there was a lot of Paramount stuff there. One of the biggest presents was Ninja Turtles. Huge presents because of the movie coming out. There was a Ninja Turtles lounge in the Hyatt Hotel that the creators stayed in, that me and Benny got to go through. They'd give you you have to like step through like a weird little portal. It's kind of hard to get into. And then in it was only iconic Ninja Turtles music playing. So at one point I walked in with the ninja rap from Vanilla Ice bumping in there. They'd make you coffee with like little turtle stuff. And they sold so much Pizza Hut stuff in there. And these dope Pizza Hut jackets because Pizza Hut is the official pizza of the Ninja Turtles, which is crazy because Domino's is better, objectively. Sorry, hate to say it, guys, but after the Domino's refresh in 2010, it's been the best fast food pizza since then. Sorry.
Arguably, I haven't had Domino's in over a decade. But I've had Pizza Hut more recently because my buddies were like, "We gotta go." I don't remember why, but they really wanted to try it, and I had a personal pan pizza, and it was exactly like it used to.
Exactly. No, because nothing's changed about it. I used to get that's so crazy you said that. I used to get the personal pan pizzas only. I think it was probably 4 or 5 years ago I had it, and it just took me back to my childhood in such a weird way. But I think like around 2010, Domino's had done like a full refresh and rebrand, and we became a Domino's family after that.
Nice.
But
that's fair.
It's crazy. We just got on a tangent about pizza because this movie does this to us. It's Turtles. It's Turtles. But we were talking about how April O'Neil, Judith Hogue, is so rich in this movie.
Yeah. You don't not fall in love with her from watching this movie.
You don't not fall in love with her. And if you do get to fall in love with her and marry her, you get taken care of her life because she owns a building in New York.
She owns
a house,
like a huge damn building. She owns like the block.
Literally,
of course, it all gets burned to the ground. But
insurance money. She's even richer than she was before.
Come on, more destroyed than upright. Yeah, it's true. She owns that great house in the country,
entire farm,
in North Carolina.
The country is crazy to me because it's like we're gonna drive away from New York, and they end up in a farm town, which is just so weird.
I love that because it's so like the movie is economic. Like, despite the fact that there's, you know, completely new technology being built to make these turtles work, everything about this movie practical but also sensible, economic in its storytelling, in its editing, and in its set placement. You know, we need economic scenes that deliver expository information, but in an entertaining way. That whole April O'Neil voiceover montage of watching the Foot Clan infiltrate
Oh,
New
and
York
she's
and take over. It's like, this is, yes,
incredible.
okay, and we got everything. We got everything we need. We know the players. We know the names, and then boom, we know who our main character is. It's April O'Neil. We're in. We meet up with the sergeant. We don't need to know who what Chief Stearns is all about. This coiled spring of a man, but you know what? He's a character and he's
Mhm.
in it and he's like scary and intimidating and real, and you're kind of like, it grounds every actor in this movie, like her boss and Danny. Even though I hate him,
Yeah.
I
It's Dan
appreciate
now,
his.
Dad. It's Dan.
Shut up, Dan.
Shut up, Dan.
Yeah, eat it, Danny.
You're a criminal.
Yeah, you're a total criminal. But everything about like the casting of this movie, like there's no like stunt casting in this, like with the notable exception of the voiceover from Corey Feldman, who is definitively Donatello. Like, I never think
Oh,
of
yeah.
anybody else. But yeah, economic in his storytelling. It's just like, here is, and them going like, okay, we need to take a break, and it's just like, in the story, we got to take that minute. We got to take that time to like cool off from all these action sequences, from all the intensity of the shredder and the loss of Splinter. So we go to the farmhouse, and that farmhouse scene, you know damn well that if they were making this movie today, just lock, stock, and barrel, same type of movie, same script, they'd be like, do we need the farmhouse sequence? Can we cut that somehow and like make that take place in the lair or something? Like, do we need the farmhouse? And it's like, the farmhouse is such a welcome shift because everyone is out of their element. Everyone is uncomfortable, but like, everyone needs to take that time for themselves. You have that beautiful, again, voiceover from April O'Neil that gives like,
Doing the art, drawing the turtles.
yeah, the only oversight, like, I could say this movie is almost flawlessly edited. And I used to stand by, I don't know if you noticed in the credits, Sally Menke, who had edited all of the best Quentin Tarantino movies ever made, also was an editor on this movie. Apparently, the production hated her edits, and so they brought on two other editors to edit the movie. But I feel like, I don't know if this is true, but I feel like they must have just gone by her storytelling, because Sally Menke was one of the best editors in Hollywood, and this movie is impeccably cut. Like,
Yeah.
there isn't a scene or a moment or a shot wasted in this flick, with the notable exception being, we really needed that Michelangelo moment. There's this
Yeah.
Michelangelo, apparently, and it's in Turtles lore, it's gone on in infamy, where Mikey took Splinter's kidnapping / death, you know, whether you know it or not, you know, people in the audience watching now, you know, you're left to think he dies. He doesn't. He's kidnapped. But like, Mikey takes it the hardest, and you watch him like get kind of disconnected from the turtles. Like, there's a great shot of Michelangelo like hitting the bag in the farmhouse, and that's like an expression of his anger. The person who's yelling on top of the farmhouse, who yells Splinter, they ADR'd it as Raphael, but it's actually Michelangelo. That's how angsty and
Wow.
upset Michelangelo is. But they were like, that adds 5 minutes to our like very cut like 70-minute movie.
Yeah.
So we can't keep it. And I'm like, you could put that back in. Like, there isn't, but with that exception aside, because you notice like there's all these drawings. There's no Michelangelo drawing. Well, there is a Michelangelo drawing, and apparently you could buy it or something like that.
Wow.
Anyway,
Wait, I didn't even know that. I need to look that up because that's super
no, it's
interesting.
great.
Because that
Yeah, no,
it's the farmhouse scene was just I seared into my memory in a weird way that it almost felt like it wasn't from this movie in my head.
right?
That
It
like
feels
I
like a totally different
remember.
movie.
Yeah, it does because like and there's been a lot of live action turtles right between 3 movies, a TV show that was
The CG
terrifying
one.
and awful. And no,
Yeah,
not the CG TV show, the physical puppets
Oh, you're
TV
talking
show.
about the one where they team up with Power Rangers. Yes.
Oh yeah, which is one of my favorite moments in history, but done horribly, horribly with the female turtle, which I don't
Yes.
like in the
Which
slightest.
broke up the duo. Eastman and Laird broke up because of Venus de Milo.
What?
Which is, yeah, that's why they're not friends anymore.
Oh my god!
Well, one of the
there's-
reasons.
There's so much lore in the turtles.
I know.
Well, the Turtles is like the forgotten franchise of I think like the big tentpoles of the last generation for sure. Everything gets a resurgence in some way, shape, or form, and it's like much like Power Rangers. I feel like it was built up as children's media that was definitely going to transcend, and far more than Power Rangers, it did it more successfully into the mainstream.
Yeah.
But through the superhero genre, we, for some reason, have chosen not to do a proper resurgence of the Ninja Turtles. And I say proper because obviously we had the Bay Turtles, but they were doing expectation subverting stuff during that, where
Yeah.
like, in the same way that I have trouble with certain superhero movies that are more expectation subversion, which led to universes taking longer to develop and recastings and whole new franchise owners and Warner Brothers hassles. Like
Absolutely.
it feels like that's what happened with the Turtles, where and then they were just shelved for a while, and you
Mhm.
think, God, do a version of the Turtles again, put
Yeah.
them back in New York, put them in the puppets with CGI to touch it up to like refine it almost, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And you
yeah.
could make it work in live action, or the alternative route, and I think that's what they're doing now, and I think it's a great idea. Go full high budget across the Spider-Verse level animation.
Yes.
And I had a friend who's already seen the movie, and he raved about how good it was. He said
Nice.
he said that if you're a Turtles fan, it's a love letter to you, and if you're not, you'll be one by the end.
Good, good. Because that's the thing about the Turtles is like we never really got, and we've gotten so many different animated versions of the Turtles, from the 87 one to the 2003 one to the CG one to the, to the other 2D animation one there's a ton of different animated adaptations of the Turtles, and every generation gets one, right? Every generation has a Turtles, whether they embraced it or not. But we never got like a really appropriate trilogy. Like we never got like Turtles comes from the comic books, which is a serialized form of fiction. The cartoon show is a serialized form of fiction. Like you don't tell the turtle stories in 90 minutes and then go, well, that's probably enough. It is a kind of a story that demands serialization and expansion. And we never really got like after the 1990 movie, after this movie, which is arguably a perfect certainly a perfect adaptation. I would almost call it like a reinvention because it's a distillation, to be sure. But Turtles 2 is a sequel to this, but it's also it came out like a full year. Like this movie comes out and then Turtles 2 comes out a year later. Like it doesn't they see the bottom line of how much this movie makes and they go, make the next one starting tomorrow.
Yeah,
Like they don't have
start filming immediately,
immediately. And
except with
yeah.
a couple notable changes, right?
Oh yeah.
This is
Oh
this
yeah.
is one that I think it's important to talk about the fight choreography and the action of this one, because we're
Yes,
not going
please.
to see this in the next
Ever.
one necessarily.
Yeah.
Which as a kid, I don't think I noticed or cared at all. As a kid, I
I
actually love the second movie is my favorite one, and I'm really
uh-huh.
excited to rewatch it as an adult and see if that feeling still holds up. But yeah, the fight choreography in this is really good at times. Sometimes it's obviously campy, but every once in a while it's like, one of the dumbest superhero tropes in any media, whether it's anime or live action or whatever. It's like it's one guy fighting an army, but they're coming at him one by one instead of all together. The Foot Clan's like, no, dude,
No,
I got a bat, I got a gun, I'm gonna stab you. Also,
Ugh.
sorry, nobody had guns in this movie.
No, the fight choreography in this, the fact that these guys were able to move at all is a miracle. The fact that they're able to skateboard is
Oh my god, my
is
jaw dropped. Are
yeah,
you
you're
kidding?
watching them just it's
Not just skate.
incredible.
He popped the board up and caught it. Which
Yes.
I, as an adult man who's been skating for the better part of 5. Okay, I don't skate a lot anymore, but I couldn't do that back in the day. It took me a long time to be able to. It also takes concise footwork, not my 3-toed turtle feet weird
I know.
nonsense thing.
Yeah, but also we get full ass fight choreography. The fight scene between Raphael and the Foot Clan by themselves is phenomenal. The rooftop scene between them and Shredder is also an achievement. But also you got like just that whole scene in the burning building where they're all trying to escape, and there's like 30, 50 dudes when the scene that precedes it, when they're fighting all the turtle guys or the Foot Clan in Abel's apartment, and they're just moving around. It's just you feel like it's like there are real stakes. Maybe it's because there's real people in there, but also like I don't know, you buy it. I don't know about anybody else, but I bought it, and I feel like excited when every scene like that is a fight scene happens, and it's so rare to see that in an action adventure comedy. Really quick note that I just wanted to point out, and I'm sure you noticed it as well. So you could tell like this movie was made practically to be R-rated or 1980s PG, which today would be R-rated.
Yeah.
And in the editing bay, someone has the bright idea, and normally I would hate this, but in this I'm so on board. But somebody has the bright idea to go add some cartoonish sound effects throughout the movie, intermittently and inconsistently, and
Wank. Wank.
it just
Yeah, it just
right like
randomly happens.
just bonks and honks and stuff, and you just like when Donatello spits water in the guy's face, and you hear this like kind of like piano like like there's so many of those little moments in this that just to soften the edge a little bit. Like it's still a spear with like a metal tip at the end, but they put like a cork on the end of the tip. You know, it's like it still will hurt you, but it might not kill you. It's just a little softening, and it's one of those weird things that every movie has where you go, this movie would be perfect, but there was this weird thing they did, and but every weird thing in this only contributes to the phenomenization of this flick, where you're like,
Yeah, Sal, you know what I'm coming to realize? We're idiots and we're just too nostalgic for this. I
yeah,
love this so much. Like I don't think I can be critical genuinely. Like maybe there's a pacing thing and
see, I
ish,
don't see any
but
pacing
like
issues at all. I think this
is
movie
it even a
is at a
thing?
clip. I will okay. Let's see if we can give any legitimate.
I'm trying to
criticism
find a
this
valid
movie.
one. Shredder is the criticism.
I love Shredder, but Shredder does
So
look
funny.
he's hilariously thin.
Yes, that's it.
Um,
It's I love that they did it, but he's wearing like a glitter costume because it's
oh,
supposed to like look like chainmail or whatever. And that we
it
have a
does.
pretty decent practical looking Shredder in the cartoon. I love the Shredder. Don't get me wrong. I think he's so goofy and hilarious, but like
Mhm.
feels like very easily we could have made that exact Shredder from the
Yeah.
cartoon. Like
Oh yeah.
very easily, in fact.
Well,
And they went for Darth Vader. I know what they were going for.
they sure did. And let me tell you something. Watch the trailer for this movie, and you will hear the original voice of Shredder, and he doesn't sound like that.
No, he doesn't.
He sounds
I
like this Shredder's like he sounds like Dr. Claw. I love because you're right. It is Darth Vader. The fact that he
Yeah.
says "I'm your father" and that's
Oh my god, that was the most incredible moment of the movie.
just like,
My jaw dropped, and I remembered it.
Darth
I
Vader.
remember I was like, imagine if he says, "I'm your father," and then he goes, "I'm your father."
Yeah.
It's like
It's
crazy.
amazing, and it's also like you're okay. I get it. We're all enjoying Star Wars too, but yeah, no. You know what? When he's fighting the turtles and he's wearing the fuchsia, I'm like, yeah, we could go harder, but it's also more accurate.
Yeah.
So not the
No,
fuchsia glitter, but like the fact that he's not huge.
Yeah, he's
He's
not a
just
ripped
really
guy.
skilled.
He's just and the clothing he's wearing. You could string it and say that it's some version of like a kimono or a garb that's more loose and airy, so you're more free flowing with your movements. He also has a metal goddamn helmet. He makes him look like a
Yes.
moron, and I love it.
Which,
I
by the
love
way,
it
when
so
he like
much.
I remember when he gets he gets cut by Leonardo and he grabs it, you could see like his shredder like going just kind of flopping because it's all
Oh.
made of rubber, and it's just I never really had any problem with these things. I'm just saying these are a couple of flaws I noticed as a throughout my decades watching this flick, but yeah, I mean, the Danny thing is fine. He's
Yeah.
clearly like the ride along character, but he doesn't insist upon himself like other characters that are clearly like invented from whole cloth so that the audience doesn't get lost. I'm
Right.
like, all right, fine. Danny's whatever. As long as
That
they
just
don't
made me
give
think
him
of
a
Danny. The one
yeah.
Danny scene that is insane when he looks in the mirror and Michelangelo's under the coffee table.
Oh my God,
And then
yeah.
he turns around, he's not there. That is from a nightmare. That is from a horror movie. That
I
is
would
from
be
hell.
gone. I'd be like, no.
No,
Well,
dude.
no. What's so great is Michelangelo puts the big teddy bear there where he used to be. So he's like, you thought you saw something, and it's this. I'm like, that's it, because it could have been nothing, but instead he replaces it with the teddy bear. Amazing. Yeah, no, I'm okay with all of it. We need to also give props to Elias Koteas, who plays Casey Jones.
Yeah.
Here's one criticism. You don't get the mask very much, but you do get it in both action sequences that he's in, where he actually fights. So fine.
He's
right?
fun. And he's really
I
fun.
think
He does a
great.
good. He's a great Casey Jones. He might be
He's
the Casey Jones. I think they might be. Everybody might be based on it. He was so fun.
Yeah.
I
And
would
there's
have
such a-
loved to seen one extra scene with him and Raph before he pulls up at the house. Like one more.
There
so
are
they
not
met
a lot
another
of them.
time.
Right, because like as a kid, I didn't know because I didn't read the comics as a kid. I just watched the cartoon shows, bought the toys, and watched the movies, and then inevitably found the comics along the way. You have to understand, folks, when Turtle Mania was at its peak, those comic books were a little hard to get since they were practically self-published.
Yeah.
They were hard to find. And after that, like Archie Comics had to deal with Ninja Turtles, so like there were a lot of other Turtles books being released around the same time as the Mirage series, or certainly after the Mirage series had it ceased. But I would have loved to have seen nowadays more of the Raph Casey relationship that is clearly inherent in the source material. This movie, it's not really there. You get a really great scene between the two of them that like could become a friendship, but Raphael is unconscious for the remainder of the movie,
Right.
so they don't really have a lot of connection.
Well, and they jump straight from that scene to at the at April's place where he's like, "Hey, you better let go of my green friend there." And it's, I love it. I love it.
I like
so
that too
much.
because he's like, you know what, we are like, not that like they have a history and they're friends, but like we fought. I like this guy. We have a mutual respect.
I feel like I always felt like there was one scene missing from there.
Yeah,
like that there's something that was cut. Like Raph and him have to bump each other one more time. I don't.
I agree.
Like, it feels like something like, and it doesn't have to be a long interaction or anything, but just enough for him to be like, "You really bashed me. You really tossed me around a little bit. Hey, I played hockey or whatever." He goes, "Oh,
yeah,
show me sometime or whatever," and then he like runs off
yeah.
or something.
It's Casey and Donatello have more of a rapport in this movie than Casey and Raph.
Yeah, because they're building the truck together, which is so funny.
I love it too because like the movie doesn't explain itself. The movie doesn't bother. Like Casey and Donatello are fixing the truck, and they are insulting each other in alphabetical order. Like just
and you don't know it until he's like, "What letter are we on?" or something like that. Yeah,
G.
It's so funny. The whole
yeah.
The dialogue's smart. Like
what happens if you make this movie today? Crack smart. Yeah.
I wonder if you could take that script and you take Jim Henson's like original models and then you try and get like a really talented puppeteer from today. Can you make a version of this again? Like, can you do this or never? Like, it can never happen, right? And also the fact that it was filmed in what millimeter is that? I don't know. It's real film.
Great question. It's film. Yeah, they filmed this.
It's definitely film because that's how they were able to pull it back into HD and like 4K again, and it looks so good in 4K.
Yeah. Well, and again, all practical effects. There's some real world building in this flick that's just like inherent throughout. The scene where April is cutting vegetables using Leonardo's sword. It's just like, of course she would. there's what else am I going to use? It's just like this is smart.
I think it was Casey. Great. I think it was Casey doing that, cutting the vegetables with the sword. Because I specifically remember that one just seared in my brain of like, what is happening here? That's so goofy.
Yeah,
and he's actually chopping them pretty well, so it's like maybe a real sword, I guess.
Right?
Like, I don't know.
That'd be so cool. That'd be so okay. But yeah, and everyone else is in this movie that's amazing. The Casey Jones mask is also impeccably made. I was just like,
beautiful.
I love this mask. I own it. I have a replica of it. NECA made one, and I was like, I must have this.
I think after this, I own a lot of like memorabilia and fandom stuff, like especially since I started being a YouTuber. That was like the first thing. Like, I have a Power Rangers morpher there. That's the very first thing I bought when this became my career. I'm ready to own Ninja Turtle stuff again. Like, I want to buy. Yeah. I need to buy everything. I sent a picture into our group chat, and we'll put it in the video here, of an abandoned costume from the original movie that is currently valued at $15,000, or maybe already was sold. But it is horrifying in every single way because the mouthpiece is gone and it's just the teeth.
They're not built to last. Henson Muppets are not built to last. That's why they make so many of them. They're cheap to make, or at least they were. And they just fall apart. It's why it's like really awesome to find one, but also you have to be very careful with it because nothing, the beauty of movies is like things are made just for that one moment to be shot and then immediately discarded. So it's hard to find that kind of stuff.
This is something I've learned over the years because I guess I am a puppeteer in some very messed up way that is like a defining characteristic of my life at this point. But I didn't know a lot about Jim Henson. My girlfriend, huge Fraggle Rock fan, huge Muppets fan, and she really introduced me to a lot of stuff. So the more research I did into Henson, there was something that like with the puppet, I have it right here, so I know I'm not supposed to bring Mickey onto this channel, but I'm going to. So the puppet that I use, this is the primary one. This is the first one that I own. I have more, like I have safeties because they discontinued this. But the reason that I still use the original one is because he has a very worn-in mouth, which like lends to a lot of like dull expressionism and stuff. And I think that's like, and the more I research into Henson, that was his philosophy too. Like a fresh, brand new Kermit the Frog puppet is nowhere near as good as like a Kermit that you've had your fingers in, you've bent around, you've really like.
They're more versatile. They're
way
worn
more
in.
versatile.
Oh yeah, no, I have a Muppet Whatnot from FAO Schwartz back when they used to exist / make them, and they are hard as hell to manipulate. You need to work them in, but the irony is, the more you work them in, the more they fall apart. So.
Yeah, And the more
You
they
got to
fall,
pick one.
and but that makes them the most useful. So yeah, there's so much to praise in this movie.
Yes.
From the music, we didn't talk about that, but the music is really good. Like it's
It,
like goofy and good. It's
it's
scene
so cemented
setting.
in its time. I remember, and I tell the story a lot whenever we talk about Turtles, but like I'll tell it again, which is that Turtle Power, which is the song that ends the movie, is horrible. It's this terrible rap. But I don't know. It's by a band called Partners in Crime, spelled Kryme, and it's horrible. They don't even know who the leader of the team is. They say it's Raphael in the song, but I remember them playing it on like one of the #1 hits stations back in my hometown. Like they're playing it on the New York station, and they played like all these songs. They were basically just like call in and vote whether we should keep this song in our like archives or throw it away. And this song came on, and like a minute into the song, they had a dozen calls. They just kept playing over. Let's being turn this off. It could the people of 2005 could not handle the turtle power.
You couldn't do it.
Yeah.
It's so dated in such a beautiful, wonderful
Yeah.
way. That also, I don't think we touched on this at all, but this movie was surprisingly for when it was filmed, really, really aware of the immigrant experience in New York. Like there was a lot
Yeah.
of like talking about the fact that like Japanese immigrants know about the Foot Clan and they're trying to talk about it, and we don't like. There's like
Oh, I know.
scoffs and like I'm supposed to listen to a couple immigrants. I'm a cop here in New York. What am I?
I know.
Listen to immigrants? No, and it's really
it's sharp
funny.
and it's funny and it's smart and it's weird because the writers were just some TV hacks from nowhere. Like no one had any major experience except for Jim Henson, and he was not writing or directing this movie.
He hated
just,
it.
It's beautiful. It's this, and it's one of those things where it's like that's why I know there's no way you could do it again. It's like this movie is lightning in a bottle. There's so much we left out, but listen, we can't keep going.
We can't.
If we do, it'll be another hour. Sam
It will
Rockwell's
be.
there's a lot to talk about, but we won't. But please, in the comments below, yeah, maybe we'll come back. We'll come back. About Turtles 2, we'll refer to it. But
yes.
And
let comment down below. Tell us all of your thoughts, everything you feel about the Turtles, and let us know if you want us to do this Turtles watch retrospective, because we're all fans. Benny's in the audience today because he was run a bit behind, but he actually watched this. He's caught up, which means he'll be doing Turtles watch with us. We'll have another perspective, but and we'll talk more at length about maybe this one as well as the second one, because they go hand in hand with like, why is the second one so different than the first one? It's because the first one did a lot of things that the global America was not happy about. Parents across America were not happy with.
Yeah, despite its financial colossal success, they were like, oh, and here's how we can fix it. That's always the death of any franchise.
Nope.
It's success.
And that's why you guys are going to comment down below, and we won't listen to a single comment you say of how we can fix this show, because we want to keep our lightning in a bottle success we have right here.
Flawless, just like its inspiration. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to our channel. We'll see you guys next time with an all-new episode here at Absolutely. I'm Sal, and that's Husson. So long, everybody.